kurwa.
In the archives of Anatoly Lomachenko, there is a video where little boy Vasya pulls himself up on the bar. He groans, says, "I cannot do it," but does not quit the training. Then he grits his teeth, says to himself, "Yes, I can," and keeps pulling up. Now, as well as before, whatever Vasily does, he tries to be the best in it. In amateur sports, Vasily Lomachenko held around 400 matches. He lost only one. As a professional, he also has one defeat in 11 fights. Vasily never blames anyone for his failures, except himself. But his fans know, if life was fair, their hero's defeat record would still be 0. When you hold your breath like that, at some point you reach the line, beyond which you understand that's it, all or nothing. Vasily's personal record, 4.5 minutes. Upon holding your breath, there comes a barrier. When to go on fighting, you must force yourself to step over the limit. It seems that there is no more air and you're about to pass out. But you must keep going. You must enter the zone of discomfort. I have gone there. I have already tested my brain. There, under the water, Vasily is alone. It is one of the rare occasions when he practices in solitude. Yes, boxing is an individual sport, but every athlete prepares for the fight together with his team. The United States, California. Lomachenko is in the heat of another training session. Vasily is working in a training facility that has become familiar to him in Oxnard and in the traditional company. There are about 10 people in the gym, but there are also sparring partners who act as temporary participants and change from season to season. And this group has remained unchanged for several years. In it, Vasily himself and 5 other people, the Lomachenko team. Every boxer has a team, but Vasily's team is in some way unique. His primary coach is his father. Yes, it happens. But Anatoly only works with one boxer, his son. At such level, this is extremely rare. Of this person, who also has a unique status, as Vasily himself asserts, the sports psychologist Andrei Kolosov trains his athletic IQ. Physical training coach Cecilio Flores, a highly experienced professional who used to work with a few world champions. Cecilio also helps Vasily improve his English. They often mock each other. Sandberg takes care of Lomachenko's hands. He's responsible for the gloves. He wraps his hands and on top of that performs as cutman. Also, Russ is a cheerful and happy person. Such people are called the soul of the team. Cecilio Flores and Russ Sandberg have both appeared in Lomachenko team through a reference of his well-established manager, Egis Klimas. Their collaboration started way back when Vasily was choosing a promoting company. The first promoter was Katya Duva. I listened to her for a couple of minutes and then understood that we've been talking about unimportant things. Then I asked, can you make my first fight for the champion title? She was startled, a pause, silence, and then she says, no, of course I will not do that and I don't think anyone will. I say, we'll see. After that, we got into Golden Boy Promotions. They talked about all the advantages that I would have if I signed the contract with them. I responded, I'm not interested in that. Can you set up a championship match for me at once, from the first fight? They say, not the first one, but they can do it from the second one. I said, okay, I'm ready. Give me the contract and I'll sign it. But Egis Klimas says, give us the agreement on paper and then we'll talk. They didn't send the contract, they had nothing on paper. Afterwards, Vasily provoked the same astonishment on the face of the president of top-ranked company, Bob Arum. Asking for a championship match at once isn't just brave, it might be called impudent. I think Bob Arum has never heard of such things, even though he's been in this sport for 50 years. When we sat down to talk with Bob, he told me, we probably must pay $1 million for Lomachenko to sign the contract. And Vasily says that he doesn't need any money to sign. He needs the first fight to be for the champion title. Bob Arum was utterly confused. He says, what? I had a goal and motivation to establish myself among professionals, do something historic. I wanted to do it from the first match. I was told that it was impossible, I wasn't even in the rankings, and I cannot be put in the ring for the title fight at once. Bob Arum said he could do it from the second match. I said, fine, that's the deal. Let's shake hands.
From
Arum kept his word. In his second match, Vasily was already boxing for a title with Orlando Salido and could feel the cruelty of professional boxing. The Mexican entered the ring with a weight higher than acceptable and fought extremely dirty. Lomachenko had never encountered such a manner of boxing. At that moment, in that fight, I felt that I didn't go as far as I could have gone. I didn't do what I had to do, what I could have done. Yes, I don't believe that I lost that match. I won it, but I won't go pointing fingers, looking for someone to blame. That's not what a man must do.
Ladies and gentlemen, we go to the official scorecards. Levi Martinez scores it 115 to 113 for Lomachenko. Jack Reese scores it 116 to 112. He has it for Salido. Oren Schellenberger scores it 115, 113 to the winner by split decision, Orlando City Salido.
After the fight, we were flying back to Los Angeles. The pilot recognized Vasily. He took the microphone, and it happened at the launch zone. He took the microphone and said, "Dear passengers, there is among us a sportsman who held a match yesterday and won it, even if the judges decided otherwise." Everyone applauded. That was the pilot of the plane. That's the attitude. Anyway, it was the first defeat record in the professional career of Lomachenko. Vasily and his fans craved for a rematch. This task was on the agenda for 3 years. For all this time, the name of Salido acted as an additional motivation for Vasily and his training process. In this case, losing to Salido became a long-term motivation for Vasily's professional growth. To my utter astonishment, emotional reaction was minimal. But the decisions that were initiated and the conditions of failure, even if the failure was nominal, were far-reaching. They maintained Vasily's activity in the training camps for a long time. It lasted until Salido became uninteresting from a sports perspective, as well as emotionally and financially. After the fight with Salido, Lomachenko found a new coach of general physical training. Before, Vasily had worked with a specialist from NBA, but he was not allocating Vasily enough time and attention. They needed a person who would become a full-time member of the team. Hegis said, "This is Cecilio," and offered to work with him. We started working with Cecilio, and it has lasted until today. While in the training camp, Lomachenko holds 2 or 3 practice sessions per day, and Cecilio Flores is always by his side during the run, warm-up, stretching, in the gym where the boxer works with the weights and exercise machines. This person is responsible for keeping Vasily in an excellent functional state.
Those are some of the things that that's my job to work on. What his weaknesses? Of course, get stronger. Of course, get faster. And those are the key to victory.
The key is not just in the intensity or duration of the practice sessions, but also their variability. Exercises that are obligatory for a boxer are alternated with non-standard work. Cecilio is invariably present in the room during Lomachenko's sparring. Then the demanding physical training coach turns into caring assistant. He removes sweat from his face and gives him water. He who gives you water on a practice session skips the queue to heaven. As for heaven, I heard or read it somewhere, and these are definitely not my words. I heard it somewhere and memorized it, and I thought about it. So after the training session is over and you're really thirsty and someone gives you water, it's not about the water, it's about the person who helped you when you were thirsty. Vasily and Cecilio often compete, not in the ring of course, but during the run, on the volleyball or basketball pitch, tennis court. Lomachenko takes this competition very seriously as well. He wants to be the first everywhere and in everything.
He's very competitive. I would say he's on. Even if we play a silly game, he of course. And I'm the same way too. I don't like to lose. You know, even if you're playing basketball, I want to win. I want to make sure I make every shot. You know, but you know, I don't always get my way, and most of the time he wins.
Гуся, спокойно. Шортики подкатай, будет хорошо.
He's one of a kind, man. He's if every athlete out there could just take a little bit of Lomachenko, you would have a lot of great fighters. You know, he's very special, very even kill. Has the mindset. He knows what he's doing. He knows he's here for a reason, and his goal is to be one of the best fighters in the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of action, we have a majority decision. Here the score totals.
Vasily made the first important step in this direction in his third fight. He beat Gary Russell Jr. and repeated the record in a minimal quantity of matches to win the title of the world champion.
They both scored about 116 to 112 in favor of the winner. And now, the WBO featherweight champion of the world, Vasily Lomachenko.
After that, Vasily held the title in 3 matches in the featherweight category. The first one of those fights was the hardest for him. Half of the match he boxed with only right hand. He had injured the left one. After I injured my hand in China, in Macau, I said to Egis that we need an excellent professional taping specialist and good gloves. And I started looking for people. I got reference to several taping specialists. And one of them, of course, was Russ.
Egis contacted me and said, Russ, could you tape Vasily's hand to see if he likes it?
Russ says no problem. He gathered all his tapes, got up to our room and wrapped the hands. Vasily looked and said, yes, that's what we need, exactly what we need. He wrapped my hands and gave me his gloves to try. I said that some of them I didn't quite like, but some, yes. He gave me 3-4 models I chose, and after that he made 150 or 200 pairs especially for me. I picked first the right-hand glove, then the left-hand glove. Then I said, Russ, these are the gloves. So now he supplies me with gloves for each fight, just in different colors. When Lomachenko was holding his next match, Anber provided him with the gloves and wrapped his hands, and also performed in the corner as Vasily's cutman.
He won, and after the fight, no problems, everything was good. He liked the work in the corner, he liked the hand wraps, he liked the gloves. And right after the fight, we went back to the dressing room, and he said, welcome to Team Lomachenko. And I've been here ever since. And it's one of the greatest moments of my boxing career.
Russ is fun. He's very versatile. He's a great magician and cheerful guy who never lets you get bored. By the way, he has a friend with whom they grew up and studied together. That person now creates magic tricks for David Copperfield.
Magic has been something that I've been practicing since I'm 15 years old. My friend was starting to practice magic, so when there was not a lot of work, he would show me card tricks. I said, oh, you have to show me, you have to show me. So one day, he kept saying, no. So I kept bugging him, I want to learn. He says, okay, I'm going to show you one trick. And you will practice the trick and do it back to me. And if you do good, I show you another one.
Very хорошо, huh? Very хорошо.
But I'll tell you what, Lomachenko group, very difficult crowd to do magic. They look magic like this, they want to catch me, you know? So, but it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy to do that.
In 2016, Lomachenko made another attempt to rewrite the history of boxing. To that end, he needed to win the title in a different weight class. They agreed to match with the champion in the second lightweight, Roman Martinez. New weight class, New York, the famous Madison Square Garden. For Lomachenko back then, many things happened for the first time. Before the fight, he was visited by Orlando Salido. Their conversation was rather friendly. The goal of a rematch with the Mexican was still on Vasily's agenda. But first, Martinez. It did not last long. A knockout in the 5th round brought Vasily a new title and a record. Lomachenko achieved the world champion title in 2 different classes faster than anyone else has ever done. It only required 7 matches.
I'd like to welcome the fighters. And their
For the promoter Bob Arum, Lomachenko is one of the most problematic proteges. And it is not about the money at all. All the difficulties arise from the selection of opponents and the organization of matches. It began on their very first meeting, where Vasily insisted on the championship fight from the start. He wants to be matched only with the best. He wants to join titles, set records, rewrite the history. But this is professional boxing. It's not as easy as that. No, they cannot organize all the matches I've asked them for. I cannot set conditions because I signed the contract. But if you're not up for it, don't go boxing. When my fight with Mariaga was organized, first there had been talk about a rematch with Salido. Well, there's Mariaga. I say, what Mariaga? He boxes in 126 pounds, and now he'll go up to 130 pounds to meet me. Why would I do that? It's not interesting. And they reply, that's the only adversary available for the moment. You have a match date, and for that date there is this opponent. If you don't want to box, don't box. I've got a pretty good salary for a match there. So I'm definitely not going to leave their budget unused. Bob Arum would be glad to organize the mega fights regularly for Lomachenko. In public, the promoter is always full of praise for his prodigy. He spares neither epithets nor comparisons. I've never seen anything like it since Muhammad Ali. But it is complicated for the strongest to meet the strongest. As a rule, these boxers have different promoters and TV networks. Also, it happens that Vasily's potential opponents claim unrealistic purses. If one is set to lose, well, at least one does so by making as much money as possible. That is how it happens. Vasily waits for the next opponent, and his manager and promoter are nervous and sometimes even in conflict with each other. Especially when Vasily demanded fights with prominent names, and we were offered very mediocre boxers for opponents. Arum and I argued so fiercely that we would hang up on each other. I don't want this, and I don't want that. Vasily Lomachenko and Egis Klimas became friends from the very first day of his career. When he and I left the office of Golden Boy Promotions, I already knew that I needed a person who would be a connecting link to the promoters. At that moment, Egis was the person who would meet us, organize meetings in all the promoting companies, who would help and translate. I thought, why not? I will try it. Their cooperation and friendship are somewhat different from the traditional relations between a boxer and his manager. Egis helps Vasily with everything, from boxing organization to daily hustles. When Lomachenko family arrives in the United States, the manager deals with visas, arranges schools and swimming pools for children, meets everyone at the airport, sees them off, translates for them. This level of assistance allows Vasily to focus exclusively on preparation for the fight. We don't have any contract with him, no signed papers at all. Today it all holds on friendship. Back then it was men shaking hands. It was just verbal agreement. I think Egis knew from people from Ukraine that I was a man of his word. If I give my word, I stick to it. I don't have any signed contracts with any of the boxers, not just with Vasily. It was me who offered everyone to base our work on trust. Boxing Writers Association of America recognized Egis Klimas as the best manager of the year in 2017. As a result of the same voting, the Lomachenko team celebrated a triple victory. Vasily himself was pronounced as the best boxer of the year, and his father the coach of the year. There is another person in the team who definitely deserves the title of the best in his field. But Andrei Kolosov is unlikely ever to be officially acclaimed in this kind of ranking. He's a sports psychologist, and there is simply no such nomination on the list. Besides his direct responsibilities, Kolos also fulfills the role of the cameraman in Vasily's team. He records all Lomachenko's sparring and training sessions, and sometimes that requires a genuinely masterful skill. Kolosov started working with Vasily way back, when the boxer was still in the amateur ring. But until this day, not everyone understands what does he exactly do. When it all has started, when Andrei came, he made Vasily stand on one foot in the ring after 12 rounds of sparring. I didn't understand what this was all about. One had to guess some letters, say something. To be honest, I don't understand many things till this day. Andrei is a family friend. I consider him as my personal friend, a person you can count on at any time of day or night. He would never deny you anything. He's a person who trains athletic IQ. Working with Vasily demands the highest level of professionalism. And that keeps you organized in a remarkable way. Preparation for this work is itself somewhat time-consuming. Those actions aren't always flawless, but they still push you forward. It's always a new level, a new challenge. There are speed aspects, such as motoric that needs improvement, or functional, psychological processes. But more often than not, a sportsman's success is determined by how stable his mental activity is. Cognitive qualities are attention, thinking, memory, imagination. To perform a move correctly, you must at least be able to imagine it. And to imagine it, you must understand it. Then, understanding must be merged with physical awareness, joined together and transferred from artificial training conditions to real conditions of the fight. We're talking about the highest achievements in sports. It's the ultimate challenge. My work is virtually directed at improvement of the effectiveness of the mental activity. Another day of training is over. Lomachenko is exhausted both physically and emotionally. It is, after all, the same every day. But even here, he is rescued by his team that helps him mentally switch gears. No sooner had he removed his tapes than the atmosphere in the gym suddenly changed. Just a moment ago, everyone was working extra hard, and now they're having fun with no less enthusiasm. After sparring, they do it all the time. I used to remove the tapes and throw them away. Now put them beside me, and they roll them into balls and play with them. It's very entertaining. It's a lot of fun. Why not? There is more circus this time in the ring. That is what happened 4 matches in a row after Vasily's victory over Martinez. Each of Lomachenko's adversaries refused to continue the fight and acknowledge defeat in advance. No mas, which means I've had enough. These words were uttered even by the twice Olympic champion Guillermo Rogondo. After each fight, Vasily promptly returns to Belgorod-Dnestrovsky. He could relax at any luxurious resort, but he feels more comfortable in his native town. He rests for a while, then renews the training sessions. At home, the Lomachenko team consists only of 2 people, himself and his father. Their separate personal team has existed for a quarter of a century. Anatoly used to box on a rather serious level himself. He obtained higher education and trained children in the local boxing club, and later on started working by his own method with his own son. And he has given his whole life to it. In the Ackerman Club, kids are still training today. They train next to their compatriot and their hero, who first entered the ring in this very room. A father and a son, they were improving their skills together. Anatoly added his ideas and methods to the existing practices, but all the unique exercise for the body and nervous system would be useless had Vasily not possessed a necessary character and upbringing. You may not be a champion, but be a human, you must. These words have been the Lomachenko team motto ever since Vasily wore his first pair of boxing gloves. They have fulfilled their maximum agenda. Together, they became one of the best, probably the best in the world in their field. One as a coach, another as a boxer. They have worked as a pair for a quarter of a century. It happens that they argue, even quarrel, but there are mutual respect and trust at all times. Here's what I say. If I were trained by a person I didn't trust, I would ask myself, why am I doing this? I wouldn't see him as an educated coach, and I wouldn't work with him. I think for a high-class sportsman, his coach must be an authority, the one to be trusted at 100%. I'll say this. It's 2 different bodies, but they are one mind. For Vasily, his father is like a god. He respects him a lot. He loves him a lot. They have a great relationship.
So I relate to what Papachenko does, what Anatoly does. I can feel his passion. I can feel his caring from his heart when his son is fighting. Of course, it's his son, but also because he has worked with him all the way through. And these are ever since I was a kid, ever since I started in boxing, I always admired the coaches who developed their fighters from the beginning to the end. It's very easy to pay money for Olympic gold medal. Okay, boxer, come here. You know, I'm going to train you now. The boxer already champion. It's easy to coach champion. It's hard to build a fighter.
In 2017, Anatoly was acclaimed as the best coach of the year. Even though there are other coaches, and Anatoly trains only Vasily, becoming the best coach of the year with only one boxer. That is very rare.
Тренером года это редкий случай.
Anatoly Lomachenko, or as he is sometimes referred to, Papachenko, does not give interviews. When asked why, he smiles ironically and says, "The time has not come." And when watching him in the midst of the training session, you may have an impression that, indeed, only he knows when that time is coming. The Lomachenko time.